Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm going to try and make this fast because we're about to go take Christmas pictures on our town square, so that'll be fun. So today I will be doing the Count Your Blessings book tag. This tag was originally created by Anne with In Search of Wonders, so thank you so much Anne for creating this video. And then I was tagged by Taylor with Tales and Treats with Tay, so thank you so much Taylor for thinking to tag me. That was very sweet of you. The very first question in this tag is count them one by one. How many books do you have? And this is one that I am particularly interested to find out the answer for because I really have no idea. I don't think y'all who watch my videos have ever seen the top of my bookshelf before. So here it is. We've got some greenery and some leaves. So yeah, and now it's like Christmas. I've got my Lord of the Rings ducks. Y'all know how much I love those Lord of the Rings ducks, okay? So I guess I'll go ahead and start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So there's 11 on the top shelf. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41. Next shelf down, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. This is like my most ratchet shelf. This is the bottom shelf, so just ignore the ugliness, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46. And then I have some more, just like a random stack of books over here on this little side table. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And lastly, I have some of these over here. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 6 in here, so I'm going to say 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. My math skills are mathing. It looks like all of these totals come to approximately 204. So if you count my sister's bookshelf with books of mine on it that she stole, I've got 206, 27, 28, 29, 210, 211, 212, 213, 214, 215, 216, 217. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. 217 is the grand total. So it's a new day. I have new hair, but I'm still wearing the same sweater. So just pretend it's the same day and not almost a week later. Okay, thanks. Also, I'm just going to be transparent with you guys. I really hate filming inside, but it's rainy and it's cold outside right now, so I'm not about to go outside. I feel like there's always weird background noise in my inside videos, so I'm really sorry about that. But anyway, I'm here to continue this video today, and I'm really excited about it. So let's get back into it. Okay, so we answered question 1 about how many books I have, and that's all I got to last week. So now we're going to move on to question 2, which is life-changing books. What are some books that changed you or profoundly impacted you in a positive way? So the first one that I'm going to talk about today, I'm going to talk about some fiction and some nonfiction that I think are applicable for this question. The first one I'm going to talk about is The Last Battle by C.S. Lewis. This book is the last book in the Narnia series, and I will never forget the day I finished this book. I will never forget where I was when I finished this book, and this is the first book that ever made me cry. Like, everything that happens in this book is just wow. And then there's the end. The end. Wow. If you have not read the Chronicles of Narnia, don't read this one until you read the other 6. The other 6 are great as well. This one is just a cut above, in my opinion. It's very, very profound. And C.S. Lewis is one of the most profound authors ever, in my opinion. I would say this one, 100%, just because it's such a good book, and then also because it was the first book that ever made me cry. The second book that I'm going to talk about is a Francine Rivers book called The Atonement Child. This one just really addresses a lot of prejudices that Christians tend to have towards one another. And it really just helped me see people with more grace and mercy. The male characters in this book, girl, her fiance makes me want to just bite a rock in half. But the guy that she ends up with, he's great. Yeah, I'm not going to say he's perfect, because nobody's perfect. But
He's perfect for her. There you go. I would not call it graphic, but it does deal with the aftermath of a sexual assault situation where she ends up pregnant. And it's like answering those questions of like, how do you proceed forward? And it does it in such a graceful and kind and way that just really touched my heart. So I 100% would call this a book that profoundly impacted me in a positive way. The third book that I'm going to talk about is Redeeming Love, also by Francine Rivers. Again, just Francine Rivers and the way that she portrays God and the way that she portrays forgiveness and, you know, God's heart towards the lost. This is like a retelling of the story of Hosea from the Bible, and it is so beautifully done. So, so beautifully done. Please read this before you watch the movie, because this goes way deeper than the movie. I have the opinion that the movie did the best it could with the time that it had. No controversial opinion, whatever. But I really, really recommend this book. This is such a good book. So yes, if you have not read it, and you want to read Francine Rivers, I would recommend starting with this one, honestly. So, yes. Moving on to nonfiction books. The first one that I'm going to talk about is Love Without Borders by Angela Braniff. If you are not familiar with her, she is a Christian YouTuber. She runs the channel This Gathered Nest, and I have loved her videos for years. I read this book the first day I got it in the mail. I read it cover to cover. Just her story and her family and just how she got to where she is today. I loved it. I'm really interested in fostering and adopting one day in the future, and her whole family is just such an inspiration. I just love her and her whole family and her whole story, and I can't emphasize it enough. If you're interested in fostering and adopting and that whole world and the way that would look, 100% recommend this. It's so, so good. The next one that I'm going to talk about in the nonfiction category is In Order to Live by Yeonmi Park. This book was so eye-opening. Before reading this, I didn't know much about North Korea and its politics at all. It's basically her childhood and her life story leading up to where she is now. It's very eye-opening, very educational, heartbreaking in areas for sure, but it is to be expected. At age 13, her and her mother escaped from North Korea. And so it kind of tells her story before they escaped and also after they escaped and all of the hurdles they had to jump after that, which is insane. My heart goes out to anyone who's in a situation like this or has dealt with a situation like this. It's crazy, so eye-opening, so educational. Would recommend. And the last one that I'm going to talk about, I know this has been very long-winded, but the last one that I'm going to talk about today for this nonfiction category is Kisses from Katie. By Katie Davis Majors. And oh my gosh, you guys, this is so beautiful. I've talked about this book multiple times on this channel already. It's free on Kindle Unlimited. And again, just for anybody who has a heart for adoption or anything like that, I feel like this book would really, really just inspire you and fuel your passion, because Katie's heart for the world and her heart for the lost and her heart for children is just so sweet and deep and touching. Basically, she becomes a missionary 17, 18, and she's living in Africa, and she's adopted numerous children by the time she's like in her mid-20s. Obviously, I do not think this is the path my life will take, but I just found her heart so, so inspiring. And just the way she talks about the world and the way she talks about the lost and the way she talks about God is just beautiful, and like I said, helps fuel your passion and your love for God. I definitely would recommend this one. Moving on to question 3. What are some editions and copies that you really love? First editions, special editions, cloth, hardback, leather-bound, signed, or is there a book that is very valuable to you for sentimental reasons? So I've got a few for this one as well. I think the first one I'm going to talk about is The Fever Code by James Dashner. I pre-ordered this book many years ago, and it is a first edition signed copy, and I am very, very proud of that. Hang on, let me find it. Yeah, first edition, 2016. I was 14 when I got this book, so 14, 15, something like that. I was very, very proud of this at the time. It was like $18 when I bought it, and I was like, wow, that's a lot of money. Good times, 2016. This is the story of the Maze Runner characters before they're put in the maze. So this is kind of like a prequel to the Maze Runner, but also it takes place after the kill order. And if you're familiar with the series, that'll make sense to you. So technically, if you're reading them chronologically, the kill order comes first, then this one, then the Maze Runner, then the Scorch Trials, then the Death Gear. It shows you a glimpse into the lives of what their lives were like as children, even like glimpses of their families and stuff like that. So if you love the Maze Runner, you'll love this. So 3 more special editions that I am pretty proud of are these like gorgeous, gorgeous books. Someone gifted these to me. A family member that lives in a different state gifted these to me, and stunning. Like, they're stunning. This is a copy of Jane Eyre. Love Jane Eyre. I've read it twice. I have multiple copies of it, but this is definitely the most beautiful copy that I own of Jane Eyre. The second one, also gifted to me by that same family member, is Silas Marner. I've never read this, I'm gonna be honest, but again, it's beautiful. Honestly, I feel like I need to get like a more readable version of this because it feels like a crime to open this and read it. Like, does that make sense? It's like decorative. Like if I'm reading and like munching on chips or something at the same time and I happened to mess up one of the pages, I would feel like I deserved jail. I think it's a classic. If anybody out there has read it, let me know what your thoughts are because I know nothing about it. So I'm interested to read it, but not in this version. The last one in a very similar style that I bought for myself is Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. This book, I grew up watching the little animated cartoon of this, and I loved it so much. It was like one of my favorite movies to watch as a child. I got the book because it's just so charming, and it's short, and it's a classic, and it's got talking animals and a toad that drives cars. So what more could you want out of a story, honestly? Another one that I'm going to mention is this version of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I also have The Magician's Nephew, but it's currently out in our living room because we are actually reading it in the evenings just all together as a family. This version, just like these, they look like childhood books. I actually found these at a thrift store. So yeah, got them for like $2. They're in pristine condition. Really love these. And then the last one that I'm going to talk about in this category is this book, Fighting for Life by Lila Rose. I got a signed copy of this. This is a very, very good book. It's kind of Lila's story and how she got to where she is today and why her beliefs have formed her into what she is today. I know it's not a book for everyone, but I really love Lila Rose and I find her very inspiring, so I really enjoyed this book. So question 4 is gifted books. Books that you love that others have gifted you. So of course I've already talked about beautiful Silas Marner and beautiful Jane Eyre. But also in this category, hopefully this doesn't seem too childish, I still remember getting these books. I was 12 and I was obsessed with American Girl books. All of the American Girl books that my library had to offer, I read. Every single one. If you're unfamiliar with the typical setup of like the historical American Girl characters, there's usually 6 books for each character. I was obsessed with Kaya, and I read Kaya's books multiple times from the library, and I remember the year that I asked for these and my aunt got them for me. My aunt or my cousin, I forgot. I really do kind of feel like the American Girl books are what got me into reading at a very young age. And let me just show you some of these. I haven't read them in years, but they hold such a special place in my heart. So we have Meet Kaya, and then it's got like an educational portion at the end, like about Native Americans, and I was obsessed. Kaya's Escape, Kaya's Hero, I remember this one very well. Kaya and the Lone Dog, Kaya Shows the Way. I remember this one very well too. I think this is one where they get kidnapped. And lastly, Changes for Kaya. Yeah, I had to mention these because there's still a part of my heart that loves them just because of the nostalgia they bring back. So if anybody else has read American Girl books or is familiar with American Girl historical characters, who's your favorite? I want to know. I feel like that'll tell me a lot about who you are as a person. Like, who your favorite historical American Girl character is will tell me a lot about you. Question 5 is the blessing of a book. How has reading benefited you in your life, emotionally, mentally, spiritually? So I can very confidently say that I've always loved reading. I remember before I could read, I would stack up books in the order that I wanted my mom to read them to me, and she would literally read the stack from like top to bottom. So like emotionally and mentally, I would classify reading for me as like an escape. So I kind of just escape from the real world and pick up a book and escape into that world for a while. And I feel like that really benefits me personally. Basically, to sum it up, I feel like reading has really, really benefited me profoundly. Just because it does provide that escape, and it does provide that extra cultivation that is required to write. And I really love writing. And I have multiple stories that I've worked on over the years. I've just always loved the world of reading and writing. But I think in order to write well, you must read well. So I think that it has impacted me in that way. And spiritually, what you read is very important when you're thinking about how reading benefits you spiritually. There's definitely some books that I have read that I'm like, this does not benefit me spiritually, but it benefits me and my ability to write. Just in my opinion, with my experience, every book that I read does not necessarily have to benefit me spiritually. Like this book, for instance, The Writer's Journey, did not benefit me spiritually, but on the level of being able to write and learning about how to write well, it benefited me greatly. You definitely do not want to aim to read books that are detrimental to you spiritually, but I don't necessarily believe that every book you read has to benefit you spiritually. And what's really great to me is when a story can combine the spiritual element and the great story element and marry those two together. That's, I think, when you really just step out of the realm of being a good storyteller or being a good Christian. Tying those two together and being able to marry those two things very well, I think is very indicative of a fantastic author, which is one of the reasons why I love Francine Rivers, because I feel like she's one of the few Christian authors that does that very well. That felt like a very ranty opinion, and I feel like I just talked for 6 minutes straight, and it was just a bunch of rabbit trails that went off in a bunch of different directions. But you know what? I'm going to go with it. Number 6 is friends, the greatest blessing. Do you have any real-life friends that love to talk books with you? Give them a shout-out and tag your favorite BookTube channels. For in real life shout-outs, I'm going to shout out Tiffany, my lovely sister, who is the number one person that I rant to about any book that I read. I know we have very similar tastes when it comes to books, and so it's just very fun to bounce books around with her. Even though she steals my books. I'm talking to you, Tiffany. I know that you have all of my Another Kingdom books in your room, and I know that you stole my Spy Family books. And I'm not okay with that. Another in real life shout out is my sweet cousin Kendra. I love her so much. She's the one that first introduced me to Francine Rivers. So we buddy read Francine Rivers' Redeeming Love together years ago. Introduced me to the world of Francine Rivers, and I have never looked back. Kendra is always great to talk about books with. She really loves historical fiction, and yeah, she always has great recommendations, so I really love her. My friend Hannah, you know who you are. She really, I think, tends to read more nonfiction. We were on vacation together one time, and she was like reading Dave Ramsey for fun. And I was like,
go you. That's great for you.
But she has really great recommendations in general as well. There's a few others, but none that I talk to real regularly about books and stuff. Okay, so my favorite booktubers, shout out to Haley Pham and Destiny Sidwell. And then, of course, in the Christian booktube community, Celestria. Celestria is really the first Christian booktuber that I ever watched. I was introduced to the world of Christian booktube through her. Been watching her for probably about 3 years now, so shout out to Celestria. And then Oshina, I love her. She's one that I found a little bit after Celestria, but I love all of her videos. I love her recommendations. She always goes out of her way to like make sure her recommendations are like thorough, and I really appreciate that about her. I love Katie's videos and Taylor's videos. Shout out to Taylor who tagged me. Yeah, just to name a few, just a little handful. There's a few others that I also watch, but those are the ones that have impacted me the most. That looks like the end of this video. I want to thank you so much for watching today's video and for spending some time with me today. Thank you so much, Taylor, for tagging me in this video. That was so, so sweet of you. I hope y'all all have an amazing rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, or whatever other time of day it is for you. And I'll see you next time. My panda pants.